If you're over 55, staring at your bank account and wondering how the hell you're supposed to retire in America, this video is for you. Look, I'm not here to sell you some dream. I'm here to show you 5 countries where broken America can still mean a life with dignity, decent healthcare, and maybe even some joy. But I'll be brutally honest about the downsides too, because the last thing you need is another YouTuber painting paradise pictures while you're trying to figure out how to afford your medications. Stick with me until the end, because I'm going to tell you exactly which country is best depending on your specific situation, and I'll give you a concrete action plan you can start today, even if you're scared or think this is impossible. Let's get clear on what we're talking about here. When I say broke, I mean you're living on somewhere between $1,200 and $2,000 a month. Maybe that's Social Security, maybe you've got a tiny pension or some savings you're trying to stretch. You're not destitute, but you're damn sure not comfortable in America. Before we dive into the countries, let me tell you how I picked them, because I'm not just throwing darts at a map here. First, cost of living. Second, healthcare. Third, safety and stability. Fourth, visas and long stays. Fifth, community, both expats and locals. Every country on this list passes these tests for a broke American retiree. But here's what you need to understand right now. None are perfect. Every single one has trade-offs. The question isn't which one is paradise. The question is, which trade-offs can you live with? And that's exactly what we're going to figure out together. Country number 1, Mexico. Let's start close to home, Mexico. Now, before you roll your eyes or get nervous because of what you've seen on the news, hear me out. Mexico has more American retirees than any other country in the world. There's a reason for that. When it comes to cost of living, we're talking real numbers here. In cities like Mérida, Mazatlan, or even parts of Oaxaca, you can rent a decent one-bedroom apartment for $400 to $600 a month. That's not a shack, that's a real place with a kitchen, maybe even a balcony. Your groceries might run you $200 to $300 a month if you shop where locals shop. Utilities? Maybe $50 to $100. You're looking at living comfortably on about $1,200 to $1,500 a month, and that includes eating out occasionally. But here's what really matters, proximity to the US. This is huge. You can fly back to see grandkids, handle business, or deal with emergencies for $200 to $400 round trip. Some of you can even drive. That peace of mind is worth its weight in gold when you're scared about making this leap. The expat communities in Mexico are massive. We're talking thousands of Americans and Canadians in places like Lake Chapala, San Miguel de Allende, and Puerto Vallarta. You'll find English-speaking book clubs, coffee meetups, Facebook groups where people help each other navigate everything from finding doctors to getting internet installed. You won't be alone. And healthcare? Here's where it gets interesting. Mexican healthcare, especially in cities with expat populations, is surprisingly good. And it's cheap. We're talking $30 to $50 for a doctor visit, maybe $15 for prescriptions that cost you hundreds in the US. Many doctors trained in America. You can get private insurance for $150 to $300 a month, or you can qualify for the IMSS public system for even less if you have residency. But let's talk about what they don't put in the glossy brochures, because safety varies wildly by region. Cartel violence is real in certain areas. Now, most expat-heavy towns are relatively safe because the cartels don't want heat from harming foreigners, but you need to do your homework. Mérida is one of the safest cities in all of North America. Parts of Sinaloa? Different story. You can't just pick a random spot on the map. You also need to learn basic Spanish. Yeah, you can survive with English and expat bubbles, but if you want to really live there, save money, and not get ripped off, you need at least survival Spanish. No hablo español only goes so far before it becomes a problem. The bureaucracy and corruption can be frustrating too. Getting your residency visa can be a headache. Sometimes officials want tips to move your paperwork along. The systems don't always make sense. If you're someone who needs everything to work like clockwork, this will drive you crazy. So who is Mexico really for? It's perfect for someone who wants short flights back home, can handle some chaos and cultural differences, and values cost savings and community over having everything feel like suburban America. If you're flexible and willing to learn, Mexico can give you a life you couldn't afford in the States. You're looking at a realistic monthly budget of about $1,200 to $1,800 depending on the city and your lifestyle. Now here's something critical to understand before we move on. Choosing Mexico isn't giving up. It's choosing life over slowly drowning in American healthcare costs and rent. Remember that as we look at the next option, which takes us across the Atlantic to Europe. Number 2, Portugal. Portugal might surprise you on this list. I know what you're thinking. Portugal? Isn't that expensive? Isn't that Europe? And you're partially right. Portugal isn't dirt cheap like some places we'll talk about, but hear me out on why it made the cut for broke Americans. Portugal is one of the safest countries in the world. Seriously, low crime, stable government, no worries about your safety, walking around at night in most areas. That peace of mind is priceless when you're in your 60s or 70s. You're not looking over your shoulder. You're not worried about whether your neighborhood is safe. You can just live. The healthcare situation is excellent too. Portugal has universal healthcare, and as a legal resident, you can access it. We're talking high-quality care at a fraction of US costs. Private healthcare is also available and still cheap by American standards. A private insurance plan might run you $100 to $200 a month. Compare that to what you're paying in America, and suddenly Portugal starts looking pretty good. Here's something that matters more than most people realize: walkable cities. Places like Porto, Braga, or smaller towns in the Algarve are incredibly walkable. You don't need a car for everything. You can walk to the market, the pharmacy, cafes. That saves money and keeps you active and social. When you're retired and on a budget, not needing a car is massive. The language situation isn't bad either. Especially in Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve, you'll find English speakers. Younger Portuguese people often speak excellent English. It's not universal, but it's more than you'll find in many countries. And Portugal has the D7 visa, a passive income visa that's become popular with retirees. If you can prove passive income of about $820 a month for a single person, you can qualify. That's doable on Social Security. But let's be real about the downsides, because Portugal is not ultra cheap. Lisbon and Porto are getting expensive because of tourism and digital nomads. You're looking at $600 to $900 for a one-bedroom apartment in decent areas of smaller cities, maybe $1,000 or more in Lisbon. Groceries run about $250 to $400 a month. You can do it on $1,500 to $1,800 a month if you're careful, but you're not living large. The visa process has complexity too. The D7 visa isn't impossible, but it requires paperwork, proving income, getting a tax number, opening a bank account from abroad, finding housing before you arrive. It's doable, but it's not just showing up and staying. You need to be organized and patient. And here's the hard truth. Portugal is not truly dirt cheap. If you're on the lower end of broke, like the $1,200 a month range, Portugal might be tight. It's better for people who are broke by US standards, but have closer to $1,800 to $2,000 coming in. Portugal is for the retiree who values safety, quality healthcare, and European culture. Maybe you're willing to sacrifice rock-bottom prices for the comfort of knowing everything works, the tap water is safe, and you can take a train to Spain for the weekend. If you can swing $1,600 to $2,000 a month and want stability, Portugal is incredible. That's your realistic monthly budget there. Now, if you're thinking Portugal sounds great but still too expensive, or maybe you want something closer to the US but with even lower costs than Mexico, then you're going to want to hear about the next country because it offers something really special for broke Americans. Country number 3, the Philippines. Let's talk about the Philippines because this is where things get really interesting for people who are serious about stretching their money as far as humanly possible. The cost of living in the Philippines is incredibly low. We're talking rent for a decent one-bedroom apartment in cities like Dumaguete, Cebu, or even parts of Manila for $300 to $500 a month. Your food costs? If you eat local food, you're looking at maybe $150 to $250 a month. Utilities are cheap. You can live, and I mean actually live with some comfort, on $1,000 to $1,200 a month. That includes going out, having a social life, maybe hiring someone to clean your place once a week. But here's what really sets the Philippines apart. English is everywhere. The Philippines was a US territory for decades, and English is one of the official languages. You can function entirely in English. Signs are in English. People speak English. You can make friends, handle business, see doctors, all in English. For a broke American who's scared about the language barrier, this is absolutely massive. The culture is incredibly friendly too. Filipinos are some of the warmest, most welcoming people you'll meet. There's already a decent expat community, especially in places like Dumaguete and Cebu, so you'll find other Americans and other foreigners to connect with. And if you're someone who loves the ocean, the beach lifestyle, island hopping, the Philippines offers that in spades. You can live near the water without it costing you an arm and a leg. The visa situation is pretty straightforward too. Americans can get a tourist visa on arrival and extend it relatively easily. There's also the Special Resident Retirees Visa, SRRV, if you're 50 or older, which requires a deposit but gives you long-term residency. It's manageable, especially compared to some countries. But now let's talk about the stuff that's hard, because the Philippines is very far from the US. We're talking 16 to 20-hour flights with connections, and tickets aren't cheap. If you need to get back to the States for an emergency, you're looking at $800 to $1,500 in a full day of travel. For some people, that distance is freeing. For others, especially if you have grandkids or aging parents, it's a deal breaker. You need to know yourself here. Healthcare quality varies significantly. In major cities like Manila and Cebu, you can find excellent hospitals with modern equipment and well-trained doctors. But in smaller towns and rural areas, healthcare can be really basic. You need to position yourself near good medical facilities, and you need to understand that while it's cheap, it's not always at the level you'd find in the US or Europe. The weather is another factor people don't think about enough. The Philippines gets hot and humid, and typhoon season is real. From June to November, you're dealing with the possibility of serious storms. Infrastructure can be spotty too. Power outages happen, internet can be slow in some areas, roads aren't always great. If you need everything to work perfectly all the time, this will frustrate you. So, who is the Philippines for? It's for people who are okay being far away from the US and want massive cost relief. It's for someone who values warm weather, beach access, and English-speaking environment, and who can handle infrastructure that's not always perfect. If you're flexible and adventurous and you're on the lower end of that $1,200 to $2,000 monthly income, the Philippines can give you a lifestyle that would be impossible in America. Your realistic monthly budget here is $1,000 to $1,500, and that can actually be comfortable if you adapt to local living. But staying with this theme of low-cost options with different trade-offs, let me tell you about another place that offers incredible value, but in a completely different environment. Country number 4, Colombia. Colombia is one of those countries that's been transforming over the last 20 years, and it's becoming a serious option for broke American retirees who want big city amenities without big city US prices. Let's start with cities like Medellin, which has become incredibly popular with expats. The cost of living is excellent. You can rent a nice one-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood for $400 to $700 a month. Groceries run about $200 to $300. Utilities maybe $50 to $100. You're looking at living well on $1,200 to $1,600 a month. And when I say living well, I mean you can afford to go out, take taxis, have a social life, not just survive. The healthcare in Colombia's major cities is legitimately world-class. Medellin, Bogota, Cali, these cities have excellent hospitals and clinics. Many doctors trained in the US or Europe, Colombia has become a medical tourism destination. A doctor visit might cost you $20 to $40. Dental work, surgeries, everything is a fraction of US costs. And the quality is there. You can get private health insurance for $100 to $200 a month, and it'll cover you well. The culture is vibrant and welcoming. Colombians are friendly. There's amazing food, great coffee, music, festivals. The weather in places like Medellin is incredible. Eternal spring, 70 to 75 degrees year-round. No heating, no air conditioning needed. That saves you money, and it's just pleasant. There's a growing expat community too, especially in Medellin. You'll find English-speaking meetups, Facebook groups, people who can help you get settled. The visa process is relatively straightforward. Colombia offers various visa options, including a pensioner visa, if you have stable retirement income of about $800 a month or more. But here's what we need to talk about. Safety perception. Colombia has come a long way from its past, but the reputation lingers. In reality, cities like Medellin are safer than many American cities now. But you need to be smart. You need to choose your neighborhood carefully. You need to not flash wealth. You need to be aware of your surroundings. Petty crime like pickpocketing can happen in touristy areas. This isn't something to be terrified of, but you can't be naive either. Language is another factor. In Colombia, Spanish is essential. Yes, you'll find some English speakers in expat areas, but much less than in the Philippines or even parts of Mexico. If you're not willing to learn Spanish, Colombia will be harder. You'll get ripped off more, you'll feel more isolated, you'll struggle with daily tasks. This isn't optional here, it's necessary. And let's be honest, if you need everything to feel like a US suburb, skip Colombia. The traffic is chaotic, the bureaucracy can be frustrating, things don't always work on time, the electrical outlets are different, the water from the tap isn't always drinkable everywhere, you're going to face culture shock. Colombia is for the retiree who wants a vibrant city life, excellent healthcare, great weather, and strong value. It's for someone who's willing to learn the language, choose their location carefully, and embrace Latin American culture. Your realistic monthly budget is $1,200 to $1,700, and that can give you a genuinely good life. Now, if you're tracking with me here, you've noticed a pattern. We've covered options in Latin America, Europe, Asia, and each offers different trade-offs between cost, healthcare, community, and distance from the US. But there's one more country I need to tell you about, and it might just be the sweet spot for certain people. Country number 5, Thailand. Thailand deserves serious consideration, and here's why. It's become one of the world's top destinations for medical tourism. It has incredible food and culture, strong expat networks, and the cost of living is very manageable for broke Americans. Let's talk money first. In cities like Chiang Mai in the north, or even beach areas that aren't the most touristy spots, you can rent a one-bedroom apartment for $300 to $600 a month. Food is incredibly cheap, especially if you eat Thai food. We're talking $3 to $5 meals at local restaurants. If you shop at markets and cook, your food budget might be $150 to $250 a month. Utilities are reasonable. You can live comfortably on $1,200 to $1,500 a month, and if you're really frugal, even less. The healthcare situation is where Thailand really shines. Thai hospitals, especially in Bangkok and Chiang Mai, are internationally accredited and cater specifically to medical tourists. The facilities are modern, the doctors are highly trained, many speak excellent English, and the costs are dramatically lower than the US. We're talking maybe $30 for a doctor visit, a few $100s for procedures that would cost thousands in America. People fly to Thailand specifically for surgery and dental work because even with the plane ticket, they save money. The expat community is huge and well established. There are thousands of retired foreigners in Thailand, particularly in Chiang Mai, Pattaya, Hua Hin, and Phuket. You'll find support groups, social clubs, volunteer opportunities, people who speak English and can help you navigate everything. You won't feel alone. The food is incredible and cheap. Thai cuisine is world-renowned, and you'll be eating it for dollars per meal. The culture is fascinating. Buddhism influences everything. There's a respect for elders, beautiful temples everywhere, festivals throughout the year. And the weather? It's tropical. Hot year-round, rainy season in the summer, but consistently warm. If you're tired of cold winters, Thailand solves that problem. But let's talk about the very real challenges because Thailand is far from the US. We're talking 20-plus hour journeys with connections, and flights run $900 to $1,500 typically. If you have a medical emergency back home or need to be there for family, it's a full day of travel and serious money. That distance is a major consideration. The cultural adjustment is significant. Thailand is a Buddhist country with very different customs, values, and social norms than America. The language barrier is real. Thai is tonal and difficult to learn, and while many people in tourist areas speak some English, in everyday life you'll struggle without Thai language skills or a translator. You'll feel like an outsider at times, and that can be isolating. The visa situation requires management. Thailand doesn't make it super easy for retirees to stay permanently. There's a retirement visa, OA and OX visas, if you're 50 or older and can meet financial requirements, typically showing $25,000 in a Thai bank account or equivalent income. Some retirees do visa runs, leaving and re-entering every few months. And here's something important. Thailand has strict laws about working. You cannot work on a retirement visa. You can't do little side jobs to supplement income. You need to be truly retired with stable income, because working illegally can get you deported and banned. Thailand is for the flexible, adventurous retiree who prioritizes healthcare access and low cost of living over proximity to the US. It's for someone who's okay with significant cultural differences, who can handle visa requirements, and who's willing to be far from family. If those things don't scare you, Thailand offers an incredible lifestyle for $1,200 to $1,600 a month that you simply cannot replicate in America. So there you have it. 5 countries that can work for broke American retirees, each with very different profiles. But before you get too excited or start Googling flights, I need to give you the brutal honesty segment that most people won't tell you. Here's what I need you to understand, and I'm going to be direct because you deserve the truth. None of these countries are perfect. Moving abroad when you're broke and older is hard. Really hard. And if you're expecting cheap America with palm trees, you're going to be disappointed and probably end up back in the States broke and bitter. Let's talk about loneliness. You're going to miss people. Your kids, your grandkids, your friends, the familiarity of home. Video calls help, but they're not the same as hugging your grandchild or having coffee with your best friend. Holidays will hit you hard. Thanksgiving in Thailand or Christmas in Colombia when everyone back home is together, that can be brutal. Some people handle it fine, others fall apart. You need to know which one you are. Culture shock is real even in the most comfortable countries on this list. Things work differently. Time means different things. Customer service is different. The way people communicate is different. What's considered polite or rude changes. You're going to have moments where you're frustrated, confused, maybe even angry because things don't work the way you expect. That's normal, but it doesn't make it easy. The bureaucracy in these countries can be maddening. Getting your residency papers, opening a bank account, getting internet installed, registering with the local authorities. All of it can take longer and be more complicated than you think. Sometimes the rules seem arbitrary. Sometimes officials are unhelpful. Sometimes you need to hire someone to help you navigate it all, and that costs money you're trying to save. You're going to face health challenges as you age, and while these countries have good healthcare, it's not always the same as what you're used to. The communication might be harder. The approach might be different. And if you have a serious emergency, you might find yourself wishing you were back in the US where you know the system and can advocate for yourself more easily. And let's talk about the thing nobody wants to admit. You might fail. You might move to one of these places and realize it's not for you. Maybe the loneliness is too much. Maybe you can't handle the heat or the language barrier or the chaos. Maybe you get sick and need to go back. And if that happens, you've spent money on the move, maybe broken a lease, and now you're back in the US in the same broke situation, but with less money than before. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because going into this with your eyes open is the only way to make it work. You're not trading one easy life for another easy life. You're trading some comforts and familiarity for financial breathing room and the chance to live with dignity instead of drowning in American costs. That's the real trade here. You're giving up proximity to family and cultural comfort in exchange for being able to afford your medications, having money left over at the end of the month, not lying awake at night terrified of medical bills. Is that trade worth it? Only you can answer that. But I can tell you that thousands of broke Americans have made this work. They've built communities, learned languages, adapted to new cultures, and found lives they couldn't have afforded back home. It's possible. It's just not easy. And anyone who tells you it is easy is lying to you. So what do you do with all this information? How do you actually move forward instead of just watching YouTube videos and dreaming? Let me give you a concrete action plan. Here's what you're going to do, and I want you to actually do this, not just nod along and then forget about it. Step 1. Pick 2 countries from this list. Not all 5. 2. Base it on what matters most to you. If it's staying close to the US, pick Mexico and Colombia. If it's healthcare, pick Thailand and Portugal. If it's cost, pick the Philippines, and Mexico. Whatever your priorities are, pick 2. Step 2, watch 5 to 10 on-the-ground videos from each of those 2 countries. Not travel vlogs where someone's staying in a resort, real videos from expats living there, showing grocery shopping, showing their apartments, talking about healthcare, showing daily life. You need to see what it really looks like, not the Instagram version. Step 3, and this is the most important one. Price out one 30-day scouting trip to one of those countries within the next 12 months. Not 5 years from now, not someday. Within the next year. Figure out how much the flight costs. Look at Airbnbs for a month, add up what you'd spend, and start saving for it. Even if it's $20 a week, start putting money aside specifically for this scouting trip. Because here's the truth, you will never feel fully ready. You will never have all the answers. But you can visit for 30 days, walk around, talk to expats, see doctors, check out apartments, eat the food, and see if it actually works for you. That one trip will tell you more than 100 YouTube videos ever could. Now, I want you to do something for me. Comment below and tell me which country you'd seriously test drive first. Not your fantasy pick, but the one you'd actually book a flight to in the next year. I'm going to read every comment, and I'm going to use what you tell me to decide which country I deep dive into next with a detailed on-the-ground video. And if you haven't watched it yet, go check out my previous video, They Lied About Retiring Overseas, The Brutal Truth, where I break down all the myths and misconceptions that'll trip you up if you don't know better. That video and this one together will give you the real picture you need. Look, you're in a tough spot, I get it, but tough spots require tough decisions and action, not just worry and hoping things magically get better. These 5 countries offer you options, not perfect options, not easy options, but real options where you can have dignity, healthcare, and some quality of life on a broke American's budget. The question is whether you're willing to make the trade-offs and take action.